what's going on, everybody? It's Nate here. Everything is going really good in the trucking world for me. I'm having a great time. Just popping in here for a quick update. I've been running circles around, between Texas, over to California, up to Washington State, back down to Salt Lake. Just kind of going around that general area, which I like. Beautiful scenery. I like running the western U.S. And I'm in Salt Lake right now. I got it's 3 stops, 4 total, including the last one. 3 stops in Salt Lake, and then the last stop is in Denver on this particular lumber load that I have. I just wanted to mention something in this video that I just come across. Things are always different. Every trip is different. Every decision you make, you're always faced with different scenarios, and you got to make a decision. There's not really one size fits all answer to all the different scenarios that you face out here. So this is a scenario that I was up against for this load. It's weekend now. Today is Sunday, but I picked the load up on Friday. Basically, I can't deliver till Monday because they're not open on the weekends. And from the point when I got loaded, I had, this girl's gonna think I'm videotaping her, but I'm not, or recording her, because I'm holding the phone. A lot of people, when I'm holding the phone up here or I'm looking at it, they walk by and give me a stink eye because they think I'm filming them, but I'm not. There's a woman here with a little kid in the passenger seat trying to back into a spot, and she's taking her time. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. So the scenario was, I once I got loaded, looking at what I had for miles, basically I had a lot more time than I needed. I need to get here to Salt Lake to deliver Monday morning. So my goal, my ultimate goal is to be here Sunday night. Now I could have been here Saturday. I started the morning in Oregon, and I had about 550 miles to get here, which I can do easily in a day. And ordinarily, that's what I would do. I would try to bite off as much of the trip in the first few days, and if I got 550 miles to go, I'm going to do it. And that makes sense most of the time, but it doesn't always make sense. And let me explain my thought process here. Even with my limited experience, I've figured out that parking in Salt Lake City is not great. There's not a lot of places to park. None of the Walmarts that I know of will really let you park. I mean, there may be a couple. There's a lot of Walmarts if you look on the map, but the vast majority of them do not allow parking. And I use Trucker Path app, and you read comments and reviews on there, and there's a lot of comments about, don't park there, don't park at that Walmart unless you want to get towed. And I think Salt Lake, they're pretty vicious about towing you. So I really I'm only looking at truck stops, and the truck stops are limited. A few weeks ago, I was parked at the Flying J, and I had reserved a parking spot just because of everything I read, and I knew it was going to be busy, and sure enough it was. I got there middle of the day and there was not very much parking. Well, it just so happens that for this trip I want to get as close as I can. There's no overnight parking for my delivery Monday morning, so I want to get to this truck stop. It happens to be Sap Brothers. I'm reading the stuff, I always see how many spaces they got, and I try to read some of the things because it's different all over the country. And you oftentimes will find it'll say, I love this truck stop. There's always spots. You show up at 8 o'clock at night and there's plenty of spots. That's what I like. But this isn't one of those spots. Everything I read was, it's a great truck stop, but get here early. Someone had even mentioned they were there at 1 o'clock and there wasn't much for parking. So that's what I was looking at. Yes, I could have gotten here yesterday, but if I'd have driven all the way, I would have been arriving here around 4 or 5 o'clock. And from everything I could see, I just said, I don't think that's a good idea. So I only drove, 150, 200 miles yesterday, and I stopped in Boise, Idaho. I like Boise. But that's not the reason I stopped there. The reason I stopped there was because I didn't want to keep driving and land here at 4 or 5 o'clock and not have any place to park. So I just drove a short distance yesterday, spent the night in Boise, and then I drove 300 and whatever miles today to get here at 11 o'clock. And it turns out it was a wise decision, because at 11 when I rolled in, there is not very many parking spots here. I mean, there was enough so I wasn't nervous and I was able to back right in here. But I mean, I drove by maybe 5 spots before I picked one to back into, and now I'm looking and most of those spots are filled up. I can see one empty spot right now. That's it. And there's over 100 spaces here. It's pretty much full. So that's just, one of the things you got to think about. Like I said, there's not one answer isn't the right answer for every situation. Most of the time, I'm going to try to run as far as I can. But in this situation, that would have been a stupid thing to do, because I would have been here, and if there's no parking spots, there's not a lot of other options, and that's how you get yourself in trouble. You end up having to park somewhere where you're not supposed to be, and then you get the cops called on you, and you get your truck towed, and you end up having to fork out $300 out of your pocket, because Melton's not going to pay that. That's not their problem. That's on me. So that's it, really. And obviously, for anyone that's driven for any period of time, they've already figured this out. This is probably more useful for somebody that's just thinking about getting into trucking or just barely starting. But once again, to be successful out here, you got to be decisive. You've got to be able to make decisions on your own. There's nobody holding your hand. There's nobody telling you what to do. You got to be able to think things through. You can't just be a robot and just do things haphazardly. You've got to think through every step, a few steps ahead of the game in a truck. And that comes, to just when you're driving, making turns, to trip planning and where you're going to stop, where you're going to shut down, how far you're going to drive for that day. To me, it's very interesting. I really enjoy it. I mean, it keeps my mind sharp. I'm always thinking about the next step. I wish that I would get load assignments beforehand, like pre-plan loads, because I always like to plan things out, and Melton doesn't do that. You don't get your load until you've unloaded. So there's a brief mental flurry in my head every time after I unload and I get a new assignment, because I'm scrambling, because time is of the essence, and you want to keep moving, but it's not always the best thing just to start driving. I mean, you need to plan things out before because sometimes you start rolling and then you got no place to stop to really think about what you want to do. So you kind of got to get a game plan before you start rolling, and that's usually a kind of a rushed scenario, especially when you're up against your 14-hour clock. But like I said, I enjoy it. I enjoy the vast majority of every situation that I come across, because I'm able to find a solution to every obstacle that I come across so far. And it's a good feeling, when you're faced with a dilemma or a decision to make, and you're able to make a decision and it works out in your favor, and it feels good. But like I said, success out here really depends on your ability to be decisive, and you've got to be able to make decisions in a relatively quick. You can't just sit there for hours and hours thinking about stuff. I mean, you got to keep moving. So the ability to be decisive and make the right decision is what it's all about out here. To being successful and getting the miles and making the money, and delivering your load on time. So that's it. been seeing a lot of really beautiful scenery. I wish I had a dash cam. My GoPro is at home. When I go home in May to turkey hunt, I'm going to bring it with me along with my computer, and maybe I'll get some more scenery added to these videos. Right now I'm looking at the mountains. I'll splice that into this video so you can see. Salt Lake is a beautiful city. Beautiful views all around. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Time to go do laundry.